The Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots are about to play for a Lombardi in a Super Bowl that nobody thought would look like this. And that is exactly what makes it so dangerous. No dynasty safety net, no veteran legend at quarterback, just Sam Darnold on one sideline, Drake May on the other, and two entire cities trying to figure out if this is the start of something huge or their one shot that cannot be wasted. Every piece of noise around this game has been about how fresh it feels, how different it feels, and that should honestly scare both fan bases. Because when the script is this new, nobody really knows how far the ceiling goes or how fast it can all fall apart. Seattle has felt like a slow build that suddenly exploded. A defense that turned into a top group the moment Ernest Jones landed and settled the middle. A front that got meaner when DeMarcus Lawrence arrived. A secondary that feeds off that energy with guys like Nick Emenwari flying around and cleaning up. On the other side, New England quietly built a wall with Christian Barmore and Milton Williams. And now they are the ones pushing pockets back, forcing bad throws, making the game ugly for every offense that lines up against them. This is not the old version of the Patriots that lived through one superstar. And it is not the old version of the Seahawks that relied on one emotional peak. This is two full rosters, loaded with veterans and young stars who all believe they are the reason their team got here. The wild part is that for all the talk about culture, coaching, and trenches, everything still tilts back to the same place, the two quarterbacks standing in the center of it. Sam Darnold comes in carrying that 4-interception night against the Rams like a scar that turned into fuel, playing the calm football he has played ever since, trusting the defense and picking his moments. Drake May walks in knowing he can take over a game with his arm and his legs, but also knowing every decision will be slowed down, frozen, and judged if one ball hits the wrong color jersey. One of them is going to protect the ball just enough. One of them is going to blink for a split second, and that tiny gap is probably going to decide a championship. Which is why the very next thing we have to do is dig straight into this quarterback duel and what really separates these two on the biggest stage they have ever seen. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Seahawks and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Pressure in this game does not start with the pass rush. It starts in the heads of Sam Darnold and Drake May. One of them just finished a postseason where every throw feels like a test of patience. The other is living in a world where every snap feels like a green light to attack. The contrast is simple to say and brutal to live through, because one mistake from either side can flip the whole night, not with a slow shift, but with a single ball that hangs in the air for a second too long. That is the tightrope both quarterbacks are walking, and it is the reason this matchup feels like pure risk against pure control. For Sam Darnold, everything about this run has been about calming the chaos that used to follow his name. And earlier in the year, he had that nightmare against the Rams where the ball kept finding defenders and people rushed to say the same old story was back. But the response since then has been completely different from any version of him we have seen before. He has leaned into timing, checked the ball down when old Sam Darnold would have forced it, and moved the chains without chasing highlight throws. The numbers tell the truth. He has gone through this playoff stretch with 0 turnovers through 3 games. And that is not an accident. It is a conscious choice to trust his defense, trust his run game, and play the kind of grown-up football that wins titles instead of social media clips. Drake May is carrying a different weight, because everyone watching knows what he can do when he lets it rip, and that temptation is there on every single drop back. He has taken 15 sacks in 3 playoff games. He has already lived through the sting of a pick 6 in Cincinnati, and yet you see him come right back out and drive the offense down the field on the next series, like nothing broke inside him. He is not a rookie anymore. He is a second-year quarterback who can extend plays, slip away from Will Anderson, and still fire a strike on the move. But that same play style invites danger if his internal clock drifts even a little. The real question now is not just which quarterback is better, It is which coaching staff, from Josh McDaniels to Clint Kubiak, can shape the game plan that pulls out the best version of their guy without waking up the worst. And that is where this turns into a pure coaching chess match. This Super Bowl might be decided by 4 men who never touch the ball. On one sideline, you have Mike Macdonald and Clint Kubiak building the world that Sam Darnold has to survive in. On the other, you have Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels shaping every read that Drake May sees. Personalities could not be more different. Styles could not be more different. But all 4 know the same truth. The team that wins this game is the staff that makes their quarterback feel calm, while the other guy feels like the field is shrinking play after play. That is the hidden fight under all the noise, and it is why this matchup feels bigger than just players. It feels like a battle between entire football brains. McDonald has turned Seattle into a defense that feels like a puzzle with no clear edge pieces. He uses Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Ernest Jones in ways that do not look copy-pasted from their old tape. Positions change, alignments move, jobs adjust, based on who they are and what they do best. Players keep talking about how he treats them like individuals, not just numbers in a meeting room. And you can see it in how often someone new shows up as the problem that offenses cannot solve. On the other side of the ball, Kubiak has earned the trust of that locker room by calling games that feel connected, run and pass marrying together, early plays setting up later shots, and designs that let Sam Darnold play on time without feeling trapped. He is not loud. He is not a showman, a quote, but his players talk about a coach who never stops grinding and never asks them to run something he does not believe in. Vrabel and McDaniels bring a different kind of edge, one built on scars from big games and a belief that panic is poison. Vrabel has hammered the idea that New England will not twist itself out of shape just because Seattle is the hot story. His defense will still be physical, disciplined, willing to live with short gains if it means taking away the easy explosives. McDaniels is the one drawing the map for Drake May, leaning into quick throws, selective deep shots, and smart use of protection, so his young star is not staring at a wall of blue and green jerseys every snap. Both men know their plans only work if their lines hold up for even a heartbeat longer than the other side. Which is exactly why the next thing we have to dig into is not the whiteboard. It is the collision at the line of scrimmage where Seattle rushers crash into New England blockers, and the whole night can tilt on who wins that first step. Every time Drake May drops back in this game, the first thing that matters is not his read. It is whether 5 Patriots blockers can survive that first explosion from Seattle. You can feel how fragile that pocket is when you watch this group. One misstep in protection, one slow slide call, and suddenly, there's a dark blue jersey in his lap before he even finishes his fake. That is the fear in this matchup. Not that New England cannot move the ball, but that their entire passing plan can be ripped apart in a single night if the protection cracks early and never settles. When a young star quarterback starts to expect contact on every snap, timing changes, eyes drop, and that is exactly the type of panic the Seahawks front is built to create. The names on that front are not there to be quiet. Leonard Williams brings power that can fold a guard straight back into the pocket. Byron Murphy shoots gaps with that first step that feels like he is moving before the ball even leaves the turf. DeMarcus Lawrence can win inside or outside and finish plays that other linemen just touch. And Ernest Jones cleans up everything that leaks through the line. They do not hunt for one matchup and live on it. They keep moving, switching sides, changing who attacks which gap, forcing the Patriots line to communicate perfectly on every single snap. New England has already had spells this postseason where edge rushers like Odafe Oweh and Will Anderson turned simple rushes into straight chaos, and Seattle has watched that tape with a grin, knowing they can throw even more bodies into those same stress points. For the Patriots, this means the game is not just about calling the right play, it is about surviving the first 2 seconds long enough for Drake May to become the player they trust. Slide the wrong way, and Leonard Williams is free. Overset outside, and DeMarcus Lawrence knifes inside. Squeeze too hard, and Ernest Jones is shooting the crease untouched. If that pattern repeats, New England can spend the whole night stuck in quick throws and broken pockets, never letting their offense breathe. But this trench story is not one-sided, because on the very next snap, the Seahawks have to deal with Christian Barmore, Milton Williams, and a Patriots front that can ruin their run game just as fast. And that is where the other half of this war at the line of scrimmage really starts. If the Seahawks want this night to feel calm for Sam Darnold, it has to start with Kenneth Walker not getting swallowed at the line of scrimmage. That sounds simple until you look at the two men waiting inside for Christian Barmore is that kind of interior force who can turn a 1st and 10 into 2nd and long with one violent strike. And Milton Williams does all the dirty work that never trends but always shows up when you check who actually blew up the run. When those two are on the field together, the middle of the formation does not feel like a lane. It feels like a trap. And every handoff into that traffic carries the risk that the running back meets a helmet in the backfield before he even takes his second step. Seattle knows if they keep trying to slam into that traffic in a straight line, they are inviting a long night of 2nd and 12. That is where the pressure lands on a young group that is still learning how to handle this type of stage. Right tackle Gray Zabel talked about facing elite interior players and how they expose every small flaw, and this is exactly what he meant. Against most fronts, an average step is still good enough. Your technique can be a little late, and the play might survive. Against Christian Barmore and Milton Williams, one bad hand placement, and the whole design is dead before it starts. The Seahawks line has to stay patient and creative at the same time, using movement, pulls and runs that bounce outside to give Kenneth Walker a chance to hit edges, rather than just ramming into the teeth of the defense. If they can get him to the perimeter with just a sliver of space, his cuts and burst can flip the tone of a drive in a heartbeat and make those big tackles hesitate just enough to slow their charge. If that does not happen, if the Patriots front keeps stuffing runs on early downs, Seattle will be forced to lean heavier on Sam Darnold and the passing game, and that is exactly where the next level of this matchup gets scary. Because once the ball has to go in the air over and over, it is no longer just a fight in the trenches, it becomes a test of whether Jackson Smith-Njigba can still find space against Christian Gonzalez, whether role players like Rashid Shaheed can land a punch over the top, and whether either side can steal a touchdown on defense or special teams when nobody is ready for it. That is where the Super Bowl starts to move from power to precision, and where the battles on the edge of the field might quietly decide everything. Out wide is where this matchup starts to feel unfair for whoever guesses wrong first. Seattle lines up with Jackson Smith-Njigba in the slot, the guy defenses circle all week, and New England answers with Christian Gonzalez, a corner who almost looks bored when the ball does not come his way. The mind game is simple to describe and brutal to survive. If the Patriots lean too hard on taking away Jackson Smith-Njigba, space opens for everyone else. If they play it safe with more zone, he can sit in soft spots and turn 5-yard catches into drive killers. That is why this part of the field feels like a fuse waiting to be lit, not just a normal coverage battle. Every snap where those two end up in the same picture has the chance to tilt the rhythm of the game without warning. The twist is that neither side can afford to treat this as a one-on-one boxing match and call it a day. New England will spin coverages, pass routes off between Christian Gonzalez and the safeties, try to crowd windows, instead of chasing Jackson Smith-Njigba across the field all night. Seattle knows that and will answer with motion, stacks and bunches that force switches, hoping for just one mistake where their best route runner gets free on a linebacker or depth corner. While all eyes are glued to that chess, you still have names like Rashid Shaheed lurking, a player who needs only a single clean release to turn a quiet game into 7 points, and backs like Kenneth Walker who can slip out of the backfield into space if the Patriots secondary sinks deep to protect against bombs. Every adjustment to stop one threat creates breathing room for another, which is exactly why both coordinators are terrified of guessing wrong on a single third down call. Then there are the plays nobody can script, the ones that come from hands that were never supposed to touch the ball. Seattle has already watched DeMarcus Lawrence and the rest of that front turn loose balls into points, and New England has the type of special teams unit that can flip a night with one blocked kick or long return when everyone in the stadium is expecting a simple change of possession. Those are the swings that do not show up in any clean matchup graphic, yet they decide parades. The catch is that many of the players who make those outlier plays are already nursing something, already taped up, already managing snaps, which is why the next layer of this story is not just who is more talented on paper, it is who actually makes it to kickoff, close to full strength, and who is trying to steal a ring while playing through pain. The scariest part of this Super Bowl for both teams is that the story can change before the first snap, just because one body does not respond right in warm-ups. New England has spent the entire week managing that line between rest and rhythm for guys like Robert Spillane and Harold Landry, knowing exactly how much they mean to the way this defense hits. Robert Spillane had that day where he stayed off the field to let an ankle calm down, then came back and moved like nothing was wrong, reminding coaches why their missed tackle rate almost doubled when he sat earlier in the year. Harold Landry has carried knee issues all season, fought through stretches in the regular schedule and the playoffs, and the staff has to ask a simple, brutal question. Not if he can dress, but if he can still explode off the edge, the way he did before the wear and tear set in. That is why names like Clavon Chason, Anfernee Jennings, and Elijah Ponder are not just depth pieces in this game, they are the safety net if the primary rusher's leg does not answer when the crowd roars. Seattle has been living the same dance with different names. When Nick Emenwari rolled that ankle in practice, every Seahawk fan felt their chest tighten for a second, because he is not just another defensive back, he is the eraser on the back end who cleans up mistakes and holds the run game together. The staff has been careful, more rehab, more treatment, fewer full speed reps, trusting his feel for his own body while making sure the swelling does not creep back at the worst time. Charles Cross has been handled with soft hands as well, limited work through the week so that his legs are fresh when Christian Barmore and Milton Williams start testing his anchor. And Sam Darnold has quietly worked through an oblique issue that could turn every twist in the pocket into a reminder that nobody is fully comfortable in February. Even role players like fullback Robbie Ust and reserve defensive back Josh Jones matter in this kind of game because one absence can force a package change, and one package change can be the difference between a stop and a drive that never ends. All of that adds a layer of tension you cannot see on the injury report, but you can feel in the way veterans talk about this chance. Some of these guys have waited close to a decade for this night, limped through past seasons, changed teams, trusted new coaching staffs, just to stand here with tape on their ankles and a ring, one clean game away. Fans will spend the hours before kickoff scrolling for updates, watching every clip of warm-ups, trying to read body language on a grainy video, but the truth is simple. By the time the ball is in the air, everyone out there has decided they are good enough to play and will live with the pain later. That is where the story moves past charts and into something heavier. Because once you stack health on top of culture, leadership, and the players who chose this city on purpose, you start to see why this Super Bowl means so much more than a scoreline. And that is exactly where the final chapter of this breakdown has to go. This Super Bowl is as much about legacy and culture as it is about scheme. With veterans like Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Shaquille Griffin, knowing this shot may define how their careers are remembered. Both teams lean on tight locker rooms and a new shared ownership era. From Seattle's core around Ernest Jones and Jackson Smith and Jigba, to New England's shift beyond Tom Brady with Drake May. In the end, the game likely comes down to one or two plays, where that tiny margin for error disappears and somebody makes the moment that fans talk about for the rest of their lives.